Well, police are still searching for a Virginia man whom they describe as a, quote, person of interest in the disappearance of an 18-year-old University of Virginia student. She vanished more than a week ago after being spotted on a number of surveillance cameras in and around a Charlottesville, Virginia shopping mall. There are new clues and a multitude of questions in this case, of course, but investigators are not sure where those clues might lead. Arise News U.S. Director Gary Anthony Ramsey joins us with the very latest. Gary?
Well, that's right, Debbie. In the second search of an apartment that belongs to 32-year-old Jesse Matthew Jr., police say they've removed bags of clothes, but they still can't say who those clothes belong to or where at this point Mr. Matthew Jr. is. This all as the clock that ticks in Hannah Graham's disappearance moves past day 10. Where is she? That was the first question being asked of friends and family of Hannah Graham. The 18-year-old was last seen on surveillance tape more than a week ago as she walked near a popular Charlottesville mall.
Did you see Hannah? Did anybody see Hannah? Did you see Hannah? Did you see Hannah? Who saw Hannah? Somebody did. Please, 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 if you have anything, however insignificant you think it may be, call the police tip line with anything that just might help us to bring Hannah home.
Now the question has become, where is he? Police say they've issued an arrest warrant for Jesse Matthew. The 32-year-old medical technician was also seen on video clips near Graham and was seen by witnesses with her in a restaurant on September 13th.
We believe that Hannah Graham may have gotten into his vehicle, a vehicle that we seized pursuant to a search warrant, a vehicle that is characterized as a 1998 Chrysler Coupe, burnt orange in color.
But Matthew came in on his own over the weekend. He asked for a lawyer and then left the Charlottesville police station without answering any questions. As police tried to follow Matthew, he took off and led them on a high-speed chase that had to be called off because of the danger to the public. Now he's charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of reckless driving, but the unrelated charges allowed investigators to go back to his apartment to search for more clues.
I think that the reason that Hannah has such marvelous support is that this is every parent's worst nightmare. I'm certain that everybody in this room and those watching knows that what happened to Hannah could happen to their child. We need to find out what happened to Hannah and make sure that it doesn't happen to anybody else.
And investigators also revealed to Arise News this afternoon that they now believe that Miss Graham and Mr. Matthew did not know each other, but at this hour she is still missing and he is still in the wind. Now, more than 1,000 people have taken part in the search for the missing University of Virginia student, and we now assume that a nationwide search is underway for Jesse Matthew Jr., whose face is all over the web, TV sets, and on newspapers all across the country. But to this point, investigators have not been able to offer up a single shred of evidence that Matthew was actually involved in Hannah Graham's disappearance, and they have not offered any other theories as to why or how the girl vanished. Debbie?
Thank you, Gary. Joining us now is Tom Ruskin, who worked for many years as a New York City police officer. He's also president of the CMP Protective and Investigative Group, and Royce Russell, a criminal defense attorney here in New York. Welcome to both of you, both great friends of Arise. Appreciate you coming in. So, Tom, I want to start with you. Help people understand what the term person of interest really means from a law enforcement standpoint.
Law enforcement standpoint, the reason you put person of interest out there is you want the public to take his face or her face into consideration what they may have seen that night and what they may know now. You never know who could have seen the two of them together, what evidence may be derived by making him a quote-unquote person of interest. And the significance here is police need leads. Law enforcement needs leads to find her, possibly alive, or to find out what may have happened to her.
I want to talk about the ramifications of this in a second, but let me ask him one more question, and that is, what is the difference between a person of interest, which is what law enforcement uses now, and 10 or 20 years ago when you called them suspects? What's the difference?
The difference is a suspect, normally you are almost ready to arrest. You're almost ready to turn them over to a prosecutor. Now, a person of interest, you don't have enough evidence to pull him in. Otherwise, when he walked in the other day on Saturday to talk to police, and then he lawyered up to put in police terms, at that point in time, they would have just arrested him.
Okay, go, Royce.
Look, you know, I respect what law enforcement do for a living, but you cannot tell me that suspect and person of interest is not synonymous. It seems pretty synonymous to me. It might be a more politically correct thing to say when you say a person of interest, but at the end of the day, what is happening is that this person now is under surveillance. This person now is being surveilled by the world. And law enforcement, to a certain degree, by putting that out there, or the media putting it out there, understands that now they don't have to worry about tracking him to a certain degree. He's going to be tracked by the United States of America. He's going to be tracked by the mom and pop grocery store. He's going to be tracked by the gas station while they do their work.
There's a danger here in two places. Let me just say this, and then please jump in. And there's danger with this, don't you think? First of all, for I think the average American, person of interest really is synonymous with suspect, and certainly with the photograph that's been released, it looks like a mugshot. So to the average person, then this gentleman is a suspect. How then? I want to ask you first, Royce. Does this violate, or does it violate, this individual's legal rights and even civil rights when there have been no charges and certainly no proof against him?
Well, here it is. I believe there's a violation because you have the right to be secure within your person. You have the right to life. And this is impinging upon him, whether you're talking first, fourth. This is impinging upon his right to be free and secure within his own self. I believe it's a seizure. I don't have to physically seize you to seize you in a way that you cannot move. If he were to go to Denver and look for a place of employment, despite that there isn't any arrest warrant or there isn't any order out there preventing him from leaving the state, he couldn't do it.
Now I'll talk as a cop. Then why didn't he come in on Saturday? And why didn't he sit down with me? And why didn't he explain to me everything he knows about this case? Instead,
but here's the question, Tom: why would he have to?
He doesn't have to. But he walked in. Police didn't bring him in. He walked in on his own. And
so if we stop there, if we say he walked in, he should get a check for that, right? Doesn't he get a check for walking in on his own?
Yeah, he gets a check.
Okay, and
he gets an X for walking out on his own.
Right, but we have a right. The Sixth Amendment says you have a right to an attorney. And you have the right to counsel.
And the police gave him the counsel.
And he took it. But that doesn't make him a bad guy because he took it.
Gentlemen, let me ask you a question to get some news.
We have a missing girl. And police have to find out what happened to her. Because society, America, wants to know what happened to this poor young lady who went out for a night of partying and disappeared off the face of the earth.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Here's the backdrop. The backdrop is, let's say he's not the person.
But
let's say he's not. Where's the story that says that he's not the person? Where is the picture that shows him happily walking down the block with a glass of milk getting his next job? It never happens.
Right, because it's not on video, and the videos show that he was the last person with her.
Right, which may or may not mean anything.
Well, it means he's the last person with her. He's the last person to see her.
It's the last person that they know, that was known to be with her.
All of a sudden, she's disappeared.
Because they don't know what happened to her. They don't really know.
Across in front of a gas station.
So let me just ask you this, from a law enforcement standpoint.
Right.
What is it that law enforcement is hoping to accomplish by releasing this information about this individual as a person of interest?
Outside of surveillance.
Outside of surveillance. What are you hoping to accomplish with that?
What I would be hoping to accomplish if I released the name of someone that I was looking at is any information of people who may have seen him or her together or separate that night after I know them to be on video. I'm looking for people to see him and see this young lady and say, geez, I saw them. They were at the 7-Eleven.
All right, but Tom,
or I saw them here.
Let me just say one thing. Yeah. You see how you just said that? Why couldn't they say that? Why can't they say, hey, look, nowadays you saw this gentleman here, he's the last one with her. If you have any clues, anything that jogs your memory as to that,
Tom, answer that briefly, and I got one more quick question for you. We're out of time.
The answer to that is because our society has developed this person of interest, and that's what law enforcement uses.
Well, let me just ask you
this.
this.
Wrong, or indifferent,
law enforcement has released a person of interest, does that mean they're no longer looking anywhere else? Is their sole focus on that?
They are still, as Royce will say, that they are absolutely following any lead that is coming in on their hotlines. As we know, what Gary reported on is they went to the house today. I think it's to get more forensic evidence. They may have come up with some. They're looking to get the rest of the evidence that may exist in his house.
All right, very interesting information and great dialogue. Tom Ruskin, Royce Russell. Thank you so much. Great to see both of you.